Have you ever considered the possibility of countless versions of you, each inhabiting a different universe, all branching out constantly? Intriguing or insane? Welcome to the world of quantum mechanics, where the ordinary laws of physics are left at the door and the extraordinary takes center stage. One of the most fascinating and perhaps perplexing concepts to emerge from this realm is the many worlds interpretation, or MWI for short. It's a theory that suggests that every possible outcome of every event defines or exists in its own world or universe. The mastermind behind this mind-boggling concept was Hugh Everett, a graduate student in the 1950s. Everett was troubled by the traditional interpretation of quantum mechanics, particularly the special role it seemed to assign to the human mind. He found this not just unsettling, but downright distasteful, as it seemed to him to carry hints of the supernatural. As a dyed-in-the-wool materialist, he found this unacceptable, and so the MWI was born out of his quest for a more materialistic interpretation of quantum phenomena. But let's dive a little deeper into the rabbit hole that is the MWI. Imagine for a moment that with every decision you make, from the mundane to the monumental, you're not just choosing one path over another. Instead, you're spawning an infinite number of parallel universes, each one playing out a different outcome of your decision. Sound a bit mad? Well, you're not alone. Bryce DeWitt, one of the MWI's most vocal proponents, famously quipped that the interpretation suggests there are 10 to the power of 100 slightly imperfect copies of oneself, all constantly splitting into further copies, which ultimately become unrecognizable. He acknowledged that this concept is not easy to reconcile with common sense. Here is schizophrenia with a vengeance. And so we're left with a question that has puzzled many a mind since the inception of the MWI. Is this interpretation a leap forward in our understanding of the universe? Or is it, as DeWitt himself suggests, schizophrenia with a vengeance? Does the many worlds interpretation undermine our understanding of reality and truth? This question forms the crux of the criticisms leveled against the interpretation, as outlined by Michael Egnor and Philip Ball. Egnor, with his characteristic wit, once quipped that people have been prescribed antipsychotic drugs for less than believing in the many worlds interpretation. His statement points to the inherent absurdity that the interpretation introduces into our understanding of reality, suggesting that our individual experiences are nothing more than illusions. Philip Ball, on the other hand, takes a more analytical approach to his critique. He argues that the many worlds interpretation, if taken seriously, undermines the very concept of meaningful truth. According to Ball, the interpretation posits that our unique experiences as individuals are not just slightly imperfect or unreliable, but are a complete illusion. But what does this mean? If our experiences are illusions, then what is reality? And if we can't trust our experiences to inform us about the world, then how can we say anything meaningful about anything? The implications of the many worlds interpretation, Ball suggests, are not just unsettling, but they also undermine the scientific description of the world. In essence, the many worlds interpretation challenges the very foundation of empirical science. It denies the observer any credible account of what they can possibly be. It's an exuberant attempt to say that everything is both true and false at the same time. But is that really possible? Can we live in a world where everything is both true and false, where reality is both real and unreal, where our experiences are both meaningful and meaningless? These are the questions that the many worlds interpretation raises, and they are questions that we must grapple with if we are to fully understand the implications of this interpretation. So, let's circle back to our original question. Does the many worlds interpretation undermine our understanding of reality and truth? Based on the criticisms put forth by Egnor and Ball, it would seem that the answer is a resounding yes. If everything is true, then have we in essence said nothing at all? Does the many worlds interpretation hold up against empirical science? This is the fundamental question we must grapple with as we delve deeper into the fascinating yet perplexing world of quantum mechanics. The many worlds interpretation, or MWI, has long been a subject of debate, primarily due to its denial of wave function collapse. According to the MWI, the universal wave function is objectively real, and there's no room for wave function collapse. But is this assumption empirically valid? Recent experiments suggest otherwise. In 2015, a breakthrough experiment verified Einstein's spooky action at a distance, demonstrating through various measurements the non-local collapse of a single particle's wave function. Specifically in the article, it is stated the use of homodyne measurements to show the non-local collapse of a single particle's wave function. And it is also stated through these different measurements, you see the wave function collapse in different ways, thus proving its existence. This realization, this empirical evidence, throws a wrench into the primary assumption underpinning the MWI. So what does this mean for the MWI? Is it time we reconsider the many worlds interpretation, given that its primary assumption has been shown to be flawed? If empirical evidence is to have any weight at all in science, then the MWI should be considered falsified until, and if, any empirical evidence can be found to support its epistemologically self-defeating claims.